Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Margate Blount Archaeological Site. Once again, the Indian Mound. The Indian Burial Mound / Native Tequesta Settlement Site. Turns out this is a very quiet place to come for sunset. And I've been looking for a park or some other quiet, relaxing place to come. And it's been here. It's been here for 6,000 years, and I didn't try coming here. A little windy. That's why I'm using a Bic instead of my fancy old boy lighter. Because when it's windy, nothing beats a Bic. Old faithful. Old reliable. You can spend $100 on a lighter. And meanwhile, these little $2 jobs last 10 years. Sunset on the lake. Mockingbirds and blue jays. Ducks. Ibises. And the Tequesta. How quiet it is out here. Now I'm surrounded by houses. Fancy $1 million houses. But I was thinking the other day about when I first moved here and came to Coral Springs, 1990. The entire city area of Parkland essentially was bean patches, cabbage, farmland, gravel roads. It was just Pine Island or Coral Springs Drive is Pine Island here. If you don't know, in Broward County, two major parallel roads running north-south is Nob Hill and Pine Island. And I don't know what hill Nob Hill is named after, but Pine Island is named after the Pine Island Ridge. I have to do a video on that sometime. That's a pretty neat place to visit. Speaking of Indians. If you're offended because I call them Indians sometimes, instead of Native Americans, indigenous inhabitants, First Peoples, Tequesta. If that offends you, sorry. Door County coffee. I believe this is Jamaican Me Crazy. Good coffee from Wisconsin. If this place is always this deserted and quiet, I may have found my new spot. Been looking for a place I can reliably go to. This might be it. So like I said, I was thinking about when I first moved here and how Parkland, all these homes were just bean patch farmland. I took a picture of it once. Back when I was kind of in photography, I was probably 20. Drove out here one time and I took a photograph of the rows of beans, or I think it was bean patches or something. I don't know why I always think those are bean patches. Maybe because Bud Lyons, who owned a lot of this land, was known as the Titan of the Bean Patch. That was his nickname. So maybe that's why I think of it as bean patches. But this area here was owned by a family called Beatty Farms. And back when I was working at auto parts delivery, I used to deliver auto parts out to their farm sometimes. Miss Beatty was always real nice. Give me a glass of lemonade. Eventually, they sold everything off. They've developed all these mega millions neighborhoods. But I got the idea to go look on Google Street View, because Google Street View lets you go back in time and see more dates. And it went back as far as 2008, I think, which is really when they began to develop and carve out these houses, and even this lake didn't exist at the time, which is interesting to think about. This little plot of land, however big this is not the full extent of what the Tequesta lived on, because you can tell from, you ever seen that time-lapse satellite view page where you can go back as far as about 1984 and see the time-lapse of the satellite view? If you look at this plot of square of land here, before about 2008, it was all contiguous. There was a giant plot of farmland here. This lake that surrounds the archaeological site, they dug that like in 2007. Before that, it was just one big plot of farmland, and this was being farmed. Remember, it was discovered in the 40s by a farmer, Mr. Blount, of Blount Road fame over in Margate, right? I'm not going to go into that. Go watch my video on this site. Talks about its discovery and where the bones of the Tequesta are now. I hope they're there. I hope the Seminole who took possession of the Tequesta bones, the Seminole didn't live here originally. The Seminoles are relatively newcomers to South Florida. In fact, white people were here before Seminoles. But the Tequesta were here, and the Seminoles are their inheritors, having moved into this area. They're the Native American, if not descendants, they're the modern stewards of the native lands. They took possession of the bones, and it was their charge to take care of and reinter the bones of the Tequesta that were found here. I hope they did, but they don't really tell us. They don't really tell outsiders what they're up to and what they're doing. I get it, you know, it's private. I would like to think that the Tequesta who were found here have been returned to this ground. If they have not yet been, then I know that is in the plans, so someday. So I was looking at Google Street View and the history, and I can see back in 2008 when they were developing this and they first leveled the farmland and started to scrape it down to build the homes, this did not have this fence around it. And the grass was all overgrown, the brush was overgrown, these same trees were here. They haven't torn down these ancient trees, which is great. They were still here, but the land was all rocky and overgrown with bush and brush. And because it had been known to be an archaeological site since the 40s, they didn't develop this area, they preserved it, and they put this wooden fence up. I'll put on the screen for you guys some Google Street View overlays to show you what this looks like. That's nice. A little family, a little Parklander family coming out. Maybe they're here for the sunset too. Well, they're not bothering us, and I'm not bothering them. So I only learned about this little burial mound preserved archaeological slash historical site this year. I had to live here 35 years to learn that this little square of land was known about, set aside, and preserved. That's cool. It's quiet. There's airplanes. Other than the airplanes, I cannot hear the Sawgrass Expressway, which is probably about 1.5 miles that direction, and maybe, I don't know, 1.5 miles 2 miles in that direction. There's a curve, and the giant highway curves around. Oh no, that's not true. I am incorrect. We're north of the Sawgrass Expressway. It does not curve around on the outside of this. We are beyond it. So the Sawgrass Expressway has to be a good 2 to 3 miles to my south. No wonder it's quiet up here. Living in Coral Springs, you get kind of used to that dull roar of hearing the distant highway. And they're starting to put up large sound barricade concrete walls, which I hope helps. I haven't noticed the difference yet, but I'm looking forward to not hearing that anymore. That would be nice. You especially hear it at night when it gets really quiet. But all I really hear is the traffic on this road right here. What is that? Trails End? There's a large park just over here, about a quarter mile. Large park. Sometimes they do concerts in that park. The athletic teams come out, marching bands. This is a good place, guys. I shouldn't put this video out. I don't want you guys to know about this spot. I'm gonna keep it to myself. One thing I noticed on one of the older street view pictures is that this park was turned around and facing back that way, which I don't understand. There's nothing over there. There's I think they started to build a cul-de-sac. There's what looks like it's the shape of a cul-de-sac where you'd build some homes and houses. Maybe they thought they were going to get away with putting some houses right here, and somebody said, you're not doing that. This is a historical site. So there's a little road that comes in a circle. It's just gravel and dirt now. It's not really even asphalt. I wonder what that family back there thinks about me. Some creepy old guy. Saw some boys fishing over there in the water in the lake. I said hi to them. They were friendly. They were polite. But I didn't want to engage them for too long because people are weird these days, and they will assume that this creepy old guy is being a creep. I did not want that. I'm very curious about what is in the ground over there. There's out into the archaeological site, inside the grounds, there's a flat, it looks almost like a stone or a concrete or something. Yeah. You guys got a drone? I wonder if I can get his footage. I should go ask him. That'd be pretty cool, huh? Let me go ask. I'll be right back. Nice. Nice people. They don't have a camera on that drone. But he said the drone was like 20 bucks. It's like a Temu drone. And he's just teaching the kids how to fly it. That is so cool. Those kids got to be like 3 or 4 years old. They're learning how to fly drones. And at that price, if it goes in a tree, you don't care. That's so cool. Didn't have that kind of stuff when my kids were little. Spend a lot of money on a remote control airplane or something and hope you get it back. What happens if I show the camera, my camera? Infinity! Yeah, so I have a little monitor on my phone so I can see what the camera sees. That's pretty clever. What do they think of next? I don't know about you. I'm not afraid to go talk to strangers. I see somebody with something I'm interested in, I will walk over to them and have a conversation and talk to them. How about you? Audio's been pretty good with the DJI Mic 2. Been real impressed with this Osmo Pocket 3 and DJI Mic 2. Somebody get hurt? Somebody's crying. Somebody tripped and fell and hurt their knee. Or they're mad about the drone, one or the other. Look at this, I can put my feet up on the bench, on the fence. We are living the life of Riley, my friends. Who said that? Living the life of Riley. Who's Riley? I don't know that one. I think I got that from my dad. Maybe my grandpa. My dad's dad used to say, living the life of Riley. Who is this Riley anyway? I don't know. Man, I could come out here with the Kindle, read a book, watch the birds. The only ones out here, other than the random family here and there, is the Tequesta, and they don't eat much. Did I tell you guys about the time I had a vision of a Tequesta sitting in a tree? We lived over in Coconut Creek at the time, and we were renting a house. And I was in the kitchen looking out the back window. We had a small tree in the backyard, probably, I don't know, 15 feet tall. And I looked up out the window and I saw, not like a hallucination, not like a dream, not like a daydream. I saw, as real as the daytime, a Tequesta Indian. And in my mind, I just knew that's a Tequesta. He was sitting in the tree, like on the lowest branch, staring at me. Sitting like with his feet on the branch and kind of haunched, like what do you call it? Sitting on your haunches, you know? Just watching me. I blinked a few times and he was gone. But I believe I saw a Tequesta. I do believe that there are momentary little glitches in time, in the universe. Glitches where people step accidentally, temporarily through a hole in time and will appear out of their own time somehow. Which doesn't make sense because the place moves in space. Earth is rocketing through space around the sun, which is rocketing through space, around a galaxy core, which is rocketing through space, and we're traveling at millions and millions and millions of miles per hour through space. So if we were to transport out of this time into another time, we would not show up in the same field. We would show up in the emptiness of space unless we also moved to the exact same new location or old location where the planet would be or what was at the time. Whoever figures out time travel better figure out space travel. I think that's why Doctor Who's TARDIS always got it right, because it's TARDIS stands for time and relative dimension in space. So it's not just a time machine, it's a time and location machine. When it comes to time travel, you better figure out space travel. But that said, I do think that every once in a while, somehow somebody steps through a small little rip or hole or glitch in the river of time and temporarily ends up in someone else's time. And I think that sometimes people see that and they think maybe they saw a ghost. Or people think that they were transported to another place, but they might have just been transported to another time and place. Everything looked different. Maybe they temporarily saw the past, and somebody in the past temporarily saw someone from the future, and they both thought they saw a ghost. I don't know. The Tequesta haven't been around for, I don't know, 1,000 years. Sun's going down, which is what happens at sunset. No bugs, no mosquitoes. A little breeze. Living the life of Riley. I tell you what, let's go see what that thing is out in that field. I'm going to take you with me. What is it? It's probably just... It's just a flat stone is all it is. Okay, just a flat stone. Nothing to write home about. Somewhere around here, there is a datum point, and I don't know where it is. It might be that big stone that's on the fence line. But somewhere around here, there's something called the datum point, and that's a fixed point in the field where the archaeological finds are measured from and documented to be from. Ugh. All right, back to the relaxing spot. Pretty big bird just landed over there on the other side of these bushes. This pipe's about done. About an hour on this pipe, that's not bad. Why, yes, my pipe pouch is multicam. Why do you ask? Matches my pop socket. You know, some days it's a multicam day, OCP pattern, and some days it's an M81 woodland camo day. As long as you don't mix your camos, you're good. Oh, I accidentally turned on face tracking. Didn't mean to do that. Let's put that back where that belongs. You know what I'm going to do here is let me take some photographs for you to show you how nice this sunset is, because if I point that camera at the sunset, it's just going to get blown out. But I'll take a couple of nice pics just to just to make sure you get a chance to see how great my view is here. Man, it's perfect out here. My word of advice is if you go out to watch the sunset, bring a hat with a decent bill, and that way you can keep yourself from going blind. As you stare into what my friend Justin calls that gigantic flaming ball of fusion. So nice out here, it should be illegal. So what else is going on? I planted some jasmine over by the backyard. It'll be nice to watch that and see if that comes in. And hopefully I can train it up to be on a trellis and make a nice little screen for my backyard area. Man, imagine if this was my backyard. Man. Hey, crow bro. Crows are out eating. Man, if you had one of those houses and your backyard was this Indian mound spot, golly, with that lake. The view of this from those backyards of those houses must be unreal at sunset. Well, they're living the life of Riley. I guess I'm going to pack it up as soon as the sun goes down, which is technically in another 20 more minutes. But because of the height of the houses, I've got an artificially high horizon there. So I think that sun's only got another 5 or 10 minutes to go before it's behind that house for me. Bring out a lawn chair. I can set up over on that side looking across this way. I can set up on that side looking across this way. I think next time I might look right down the avenue. The avenue, like this is our Stonehenge, right? You know, Stonehenge has the avenue that just points directly at the point where the sun rises on the solstice, and the moon sets perfectly behind Stonehenge as the sun comes up once a year. Be a neat thing to see sometime. There's people flying away on that Delta jet, heading north. Where are y'all going? And you have no idea that I'm down here enjoying the mockingbirds. So it turns out mockingbirds are named because they make the sounds of other birds. I did not know that, but that makes a lot of sense. I thought they were called mockingbirds because of the way they're always so annoyed at you, and they sit in a tree and they seem to be mocking you and angry at you and yelling at you. I guess not. I guess they're not mocking me. They're mocking the sounds of other birds. Well, chalk that up to something else I learned this year. I was talking to a friend about a rifle range he visits over in Immokalee. He's a member. It's $85 a month to be a member of that range. But they've got 100, 200, 300 yard distances. And he said there's an area where you can go shoot if you want to, all the way up to a mile, although I ain't shooting anything a mile away. Not with my eyes. But he can bring a guest, and I can go over there and shoot, and that might be kind of cool. Let's move the camera and give you guys a slightly different view. so you can enjoy the sunset a little bit. I don't know how good that's going to look on a camera. Probably not very spectacular, but what are you going to do, you know? If I wanted a fancy view of the sunset, I'd buy a high-end camera, right? All right. I can see what your view is. You can't see me, which is probably not a terrible thing for you. But you can see the sunset and you can see the sky. So let's see what we get as far as sunsets go. Out here at the Margate Blount Archaeological Site. And there's a ridge of clouds that have come up and the sun is just about to drop behind those clouds. Maybe we'll get a green flash as it drops below those clouds. Sometimes, you guys know about the green flash? Have you heard of the green flash during a sunset on the very, very last moment when the sun peaks over the horizon at a sunset? Sometimes there's an archaeological, sometimes there's an atmospheric, what do you call it? Phenomenon. An atmospheric phenomenon where you get a little green flash right at the end. I saw it one time when we were at sea on a cruise ship. I saw the green flash. And I saw it once out at the Everglades. I don't want to stare right at the sun until it's just about gone. All right, I think we got about 10 or 15 seconds before it slips away. We've just got a tiny sliver now. Here we go. It's going, it's going. I'm going to have a spot in front of my eyes for quite a while, but I want to see if we get a green flash here. All right, probably 10 seconds left. Less. It's turning orangish, pinkish, reddish, orangish. No, I did not see a green flash. But there's just a tiny little sliver gap of sky below that row of clouds that the sun should now drop down below. You know what? Let's take ourselves another photograph of that pretty sunset because it's just so pretty. What do you call those lines that come out from a sunset like that? What are those lines called? Some kind of rays? Lenticular rays? Bolivian rays? Monrovian rays? I don't know. What are they called? So, another minute or two, and that bottom area is starting to turn a very bold red. It's very pretty with the little string of lights too set up. So let's remember this. This is the April 30th. Tomorrow's May 1st, May Day. And as I sit here on the left side of this bench, the sun went down directly between those houses. So it'll be interesting to see where the sun starts to set throughout the year if I keep coming back here for sunset, which I gotta tell you guys, it's so nice out here. I think I might. Playing with the exposure by tapping on the different areas to see what it does. It darkens and lightens, and it's Not easy to get this kind of camera to give a good medium exposure. Not too dark, not too bright. Birds are going crazy this time of day, aren't they? The birds are going nuts. I like it. There goes the sun dropping below that cloud. Here he goes, slipping down. Very nice. Isn't that pretty? Whoops. Sorry about that. Didn't realize there was a little joystick aimer right there. Playing with the phone on the app that lets me control the camera. And now the sun is going to slip between that cloud and the houses, the next place over there. Now these kind of cameras here, you don't really get a very good zoom, you know what I mean? Let's put on my reading glasses so I can see what happens when I draw a box like this. What's it do? Oh, that tracks. That's the tracker. Okay. All right, folks. Well, there goes the sun. That's the end of our sunset. Goodbye, sun. I'll see you tomorrow. So that's kind of cool that I can whoops, re-aim the camera here just by doing this. Hello. That's pretty cool. Just by dragging the little joystick on there. Woo, woo, woo. All right, well, I'm going to sign off. I want to say to all of you, thanks for sticking it out here. Thanks for joining me for sunset at the Margate Blount Archaeological Site, aka Scott's new spot. This is going to be my spot. There's nobody here. It's like having your own private park. So thanks for watching. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Where are we? I hope you all find a really nice place to watch a sunset as well. Take it easy and I'll see you later.